Hi there, I'm David Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, and today we're going to take a look at another cool product by Wizkids, and that is their new battle mats for Dungeons and Dragons. Now what's cool is there's actually going to be 4 of these. I have the first 2, which is Forest and Grassland, and these are both 3x5 mats, and I like the size because it's a lot bigger than what you'd normally buy in a, say, a wet erase or dry erase mat. And they're much bigger. They are only one-sided, but they are gridded on a 1-inch grid. So let's take these out of the boxes and get a closer look. Okay, so the first battle mat I got here is the Grassland. And the Grassland, well, it's pretty well detailed. I like the whole of the Grassland all in all. Pretty nice even distribution. Nothing really crazy out here that might suggest it's a very specific map, and I kind of like real general maps. What I do like about these, other than the 3x5 size, is the fact they got a nice rubber grip on the back. Prevents them from sliding around the table, unlike, let's say, a Pathfinder flip mat or even the vinyl ones. Of course, Dungeons & Dragons, they got their logo right here and what kind of map it is, and I kind of like that. It just looks cool, even though it's on the back side and you're never going to see it, but the logo is definitely kind of neat. But what I don't like about this mat is that the grid lines, even though you can tell they're there, they're very, very faint. Now, in a way, having faint grid lines isn't too bad because then it doesn't detract from the overall game, but I never thought grid lines really bothered anything anyways. Now, let's compare these grid lines, which you can probably barely see at the distance you're looking at, which is probably about 3 feet away. So let me grab a Pathfinder flip mat. That way you can kind of check out the difference. Now there'll be a little glare on this flip mat, but I don't think it's too bad, and I think you can still see how the grid lines, at least on this flip mat, are a little more prominent than on this grass mat. Again, faint grid lines are okay, but it's kind of bad when they start to kind of disappear in the background. And it's not just this mat, it's also the forest mat that seems to have that problem. Also too, I'm not quite sure how to describe the material, but it's definitely not something that you can draw on or write on. And that would kind of be nice. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's just kind of okay for me. And before I completely pass judgment, let me show you the forest map real quick too. So here's the forest map. It's not too bad. It's like the grass mat. It's not really too bad, although since the grid lines are so faint, it really disappears when you get into the thick of the woods. There's whole sections where you can't even really discern where the grid is, and it'd be pretty easy to lose track where your character is going to be. Now I'm hoping with the Tundra or the ocean maps that there'll be enough of a contrast where you'll be able to see the grid lines better. But if you're thinking about buying either one of these mats, I would definitely go with the Grassland over the Forest, because the Grassland, you can definitely see the grid. And even when it's faint, you can still make it out with the other squares that are around there. But with the Forest, the grid completely gets lost. And I'm not a super big fan of these mats, and I was really excited about them. At 60 bucks, it's a little steep, and I really want to like these mats. But 60 bucks, and I've already had some people come in and they've seen these mats, and I've had them laid out and they see them and they still like them, they still get them. I think it helps that they got the rubber back and the size is really good, and most people can kind of work around this grid disappearing. But I don't know, for 60 bucks, I'm just not a fan. It's cool. I'm not sure if I'm even going to add one to my collection, but it's one of those things you kind of have to see for yourself. Now on the upshot, they seem like they're going to be pretty durable. If you roll it and unroll it a lot, you might end up with a bunch of these creases. Like my grass mat, all these little creases have kind of flattened themselves out over time. But the forest one, not so much. Will it stop me from playing? No. Will I unbalance the miniatures unnecessarily? No, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just, I just don't like them for the price. And unfortunately, I hate to say that. Overall, I think the overall quality is, the durability will be good, and it's great if you're going to play at home. They won't move. like I said, but it's just the design, the forest design, it's just super blotchy and it just kind of looks like a mess of ink, actually. So that's kind of my problem. And I think really it's not that I don't like the Grassland, it's that I just really don't like the forest mat that much. I just think it's kind of bad. But at least the image quality is bad. Let me be a little more specific. The image quality I don't like. I think the resolution's really bad on it, and the grid lines, they just disappear right into the mat. And I don't know if you can see some of the crinkling from the mat being rolled up. But of course I haven't had this unrolled for very long. But it does lay flat, and it does have the rubber backing on it. And I think really, you know, it's a solid mat. It's just, I don't know, it's just hard for me to stomach that $60 price tag. But if your store has a reward system like we do, that might be something you want to spend some of your rewards on. Now, just because I don't necessarily care for these mats, don't think that they're bad. But I definitely think if it's the only mat you're going to buy, you might do better getting yourself just like a regular wet erase mat or some Pathfinder flip mats before you commit to this one. But also too, but the size is really nice. I do like the size because it should cover most dining room tables and it gives you a little extra space to play, whereas the flip mats, they're a little smaller, as you can see, actually a lot smaller. And even some of the vinyl wet erase mats, you got some that are about this size, the size of the play mat, the Pathfinder flip mat, and then you've also got some that are maybe just about as big as this one. But overall, I don't think it's going to be a bad addition to your collection. What I would do though is just kind of take a look at it, compare the Grassland versus the forest. If your local FLGS will let you kind of look at them out of the box, oh, that'd be a real winner. But not all FLGSs kind of really have the space or the ability to roll them out so you can check them out. But just, you know, I figured Grassland first, then forest out of these two. But now when the Tundra and the ocean come out, those might actually be better. The grid lines might be a little more visible, so it might be something you want to get into. Well, I guess that's pretty much it about the battle mats. Overall, just kind of underwhelmed. They're a little higher priced considering the overall package, and for $60 you're only getting one mat, so each one is $60. But like I said, if you can check them out, go take a look at them, see what you think, and who knows, maybe you'll look at this mat and say, hey, this is the one for me. Well, hopefully this video has been a little bit helpful for you, and well man, I think I'm just going to leave it at that. As always, I'm Dave Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, telling you to stay safe, play great games, and we'll see you real soon.